Now, could you describe a little bit, when we talk about living there, describe the real estate there and what it kind of takes to purchase real estate there. I hear it's pretty lucrative and pretty booming right now.
Right. It is. There's the real estate market has seen tremendous growth. Purchasing Turkey is not like the U.S. It's interesting. They didn't have people don't have much mortgages. It's just newly becoming popular to get a mortgage. So what happens is people usually typically buy straight cash. Friends and family pitch in. You'll buy real estate. So as far as there's a lot of new developments, a lot of new residential multi-use units coming to market. There's been a tremendous influx of foreign investments in the recent years, which has been propping up the prices. And the real estate prices are very competitive compared to other parts of the world. The country's residential property prices rose 12.5% in the last 12 months, I think up until September of 2013, according to Knight Frank Global House Price Index, which follows the Turkish residential market pretty closely. The best opportunities, though, are located in the coastlines, the beach locations, and that's where a lot of the expats, you have a lot of English, you have a lot of German, a lot of Dutch. They bought a tremendous amount of property on the coastlines, and what they're buying is vacation rentals. And typically, and then during summertime, or 4 to 6 months out of the year, they rent these vacation rentals out, and they've been, they provide very good returns. And typically, the investments pay themselves off in 4 to 5 years. Just this past summer, I even rented a villa myself in Bodrum, which is my favorite place in the area I visit every month. I mean, every summer. I wish I was visiting every month. But she was in Australia, so you have, she was telling me that how. I asked her if it was a good investment, and she said that it pays itself off in 4 years typically. So I think that's a great opportunity. One can buy an apartment in a Turkish coastal resort towns for as little as $50,000, depending where it is, to villas that are around $300,000. Similar types of investments, like in Spain, will range from $100,000 to $250,000, and the large villa is probably going around $400,000 to $500,000 in Spain. So there's quite a bit of value in Turkey if you look at it that way. And then typically, like a one-bedroom apartment in Turkey will go around $80,000 to $100,000, or $130,000 to $160,000 for a two-bedroom. But if you compare it to Paris, a one-bedroom apartment is going to cost you $300,000. So again, there's a lot of value as far as making real estate investments, and the new developments are just phenomenal and gorgeous, absolutely beautiful. You have them in Istanbul, in all the major cities, Ankara, Izmir, and then also the coastal towns. So there's a lot of opportunities in different areas. And another like my family has traditionally invested in real estate. So what we do is, you make your money here in the U.S. and you buy property, land in Turkey, and it just appreciates on its own over time. If you have land, for instance, my family owned the land for 20, 30 years, and then there's a developer that comes along and says, hey, I want to develop your land. You don't sell it outright to them, but he'll say, I'll build 50 units here, and I'll give you half of them. It's something called a kat karşılık. So it's a 50-50 deal. They'll build it. They incur all the expenses of building it, but they'll give you a percentage of the units. And that's a very common thing. So those are some different, real estate type of opportunities as far that exist right now.
Sharif, would you have to be a United States? What if you're a United States citizen? You don't have dual citizenship or anything like that. Could you still take advantage of that, or how does that work?
Yeah, you can. Before you couldn't. So what happened? That's why the real estate prices exploded. Is because before you had to be a Turkish citizen to buy property. Now the laws changed, and that's why you had the influx of foreign direct investment buying up all the prime real estate throughout the country. And also, again, another reason why it's a great play is that, Turkey's push for the European Union. It's not in the European Union now, but once it gets in, and if it does get in, property prices are going to even rise more substantially. But one thing to keep in mind, though, and I want to point this out because it's very important, is that if you do want to purchase real estate in Turkey, even for someone like me who has family, whose families own real estate, it's important to use local advisors to help you through the process in purchasing your investment and making sure that you get the proper valuation for your investment, because it can get tricky. So you have to find good advisors there in order to do that. And there are very good companies that I personally even work with that provide you through the whole entire process. And again, as I mentioned earlier, the mortgage industry is still new in Turkey, and their mortgages aren't like the ones here where it's, in the U.S., where 30 years. In Turkey, you can get a mortgage for 5 to 10 years, but the interest rates are going to be higher. They'll be like at 10%, 12%. And recently, the Fed Reserve of Turkey increased the interest rates. So one thing that I do sometimes here is I'll pull money from my credit cards or whatever, and you can purchase the real estate there. And, you can get zero interest credit cards and do things like that to purchase real estate. So that, it's about being creative to get your transactions completed. And what's great is last summer I was with my sister and she sold one of her apartments. And typically in the U.S., transactions take 30 to 60 days to close, sometimes longer. But there, a buyer came along and for day one, and we were done in like 4 days. The transaction was completely done in 4 days. It was so practical and simple, and you didn't have 60 to 100 pages of closing documents. It's a very straight line process. But again, it has to be done with the right advisors and people there holding your hand through the process, especially if you're not familiar with the market.
So you could refer those individuals out or possibly have those come to the event so somebody can come there and, network and get that type of advisor, correct?
Absolutely. There's a company I work with they're the sole company in Turkey that does valuation. It values property for investors, and they actually work with all the big banks. They do it for the big banks in Turkey, where traditionally they didn't have this. And someone can ask obscure price for a property, but it's true the valuation is something else. So it gives you a peace of mind. Having that service gives you a peace of mind, and this company does an incredible job of hand-holding throughout the whole process, and it's very reasonable priced up as well.